Okay, so today we're going to learn the basics of the writing process. This will be the first video in an installment of several videos about the writing process. Okay, so before you begin, you need to make sure that your students have their writing folder. You should have given them the writing packet that we discussed. If you would like a copy of the writing packet, it doesn't matter whether you teach at Ponchatoula Junior High School or Tangipahoa Hope Parish or anywhere in the country who happens to see this video. You can email me at eureka.dalton, and my name is right there, eureka.dalton@tangischools.org, and I will email it to you. That email will also be in the description box beneath this video. Okay? So, You Can Write is the name of it because everybody can write. Also, besides that, you ought to have a transitional sheet. You can find some online, but students need to have a copy of transitions to use in their writing. That tends to be very helpful over the past 10 years that I've been doing this. And last but not least, the students need some type of prompt. Now, you can go according to your state prompt, which I did. I gave them a Louisiana LEAP prompt, okay? But whatever state you in, any type of expository prompt will work. Okay, now let's begin. The first thing that we're going to talk about is pre-writing. A lot of times students put emphasis on the actual activity of writing, but it's the pre-writing that sets the foundation for a good paper. So we definitely need to take a lot of time breaking this section down, and that's what I will be doing today. Specifically, we're going to teach students how to read prompts effectively and how to brainstorm the topic that is given to them on standardized assessments. Okay, so my students was given the prompt about confidence. And specifically it said, your parish sports committee asked students to write an essay about the effects of competition. Competition is a constant presence in today's schools where students not only compete with one another in the classroom, but also in sports and in various extracurricular activities. Explain how competition can improve life or make it more difficult for students. Use specific details and examples in your response. And then they go on to say, before you begin to write, think about a time when you competed for something. What was the reward, award, or acknowledgement? How did competition improve life or make it more difficult for you or other students? Now write a multi-paragraph composition explaining how competition can improve life or make it more difficult for students. Now there is some other information at the bottom, but we're not going to get into that because we're focusing right now on the brainstorm report. So we did the first thing. The first thing you do when you get a prompt is to read it all the way through. Don't try to mark anything on it first. Just read it all the way through to get an understanding of what the prompt is talking about. And now we get into our first page, or rather page 2 of our writing packet. So turn to page 2. On page 2, after you have read a writing prompt, all right, after you have read a prompt, you need to gain some type of knowledge about the prompt so that you can write about it. Now, there are 2 types of prompts that are popular right now in state assessment. It's either the expository essay where the students use all personal background information, or it's the prompt where students are given some type of text, be it non-fiction or fiction, and they utilize that to write their essay. For my intents and purposes today, I gave my students the first option of personal background because this video is more centered around teaching students the structure of writing. And if you put structure and text together, that usually bombards the student and makes them shut down. Okay. So, with their reading it, my students have 3 different types of highlighters. And we're going to do wraps, okay? we're going to do RAFT. This is a very helpful acronym. You can look at other videos to show your students RAFT as well throughout the year, but this is what I'm using RAFT for in my class. So step one, we just read the prompt, okay? Now, let's go back and read it to mark it up this time. The first thing you're going to do is underline verbs, okay? So if students, if you're looking at the prompt, let's look at the information in the box. This is what I call the money box. This is the important things. This tells you how to get the essay that they want you to write, okay? So let's go through. Your parish sports committee asks students to write an essay about the effects of competition. So what verbs help you know what to do?
Right.
Right, so we're going to underline that, or if you have a highlighter, you can highlight it. So we know they want us to write. Specifically, we are writing an essay about the effects of competition. Now, there are some more verbs down here. That middle section, that is bolded, okay? They have some things they want us to do too. Competition is a constant present in today's schools where students not only compete with one another in the classroom, but also in sports and in various extracurricular activities. Isn't that just a setup statement?
Yes.
Okay, they give you the background. They're giving you the background knowledge that you need to write, okay? Use specific, explain how competition can improve life or make it more difficult for students. All right, so what do they want you to do?
Explain.
Explain. And we have been discussing the difference between explanation and example this week. They want us to explain. Use specific details and examples in your response. What do they want you to do? They want you to use. So that is not multiple choice on. You have to use specific details. All right, on yesterday, remember the activity that we had? I was walking around, I was telling some of you all, you didn't use specific details and examples. Do you see how that's different from explaining? They have explain, and then they have used specific details and examples. That example is a story, it's an illustration. If you have text, it is the text. An explanation is the setup for the example, okay? But we'll get more to that when we get into the body. And then they say, now write a multi-paragraph composition explaining how competition can improve life or make it more difficult for students. So what's the first verb you see that they want us to do?
Right.
Write. What's the second?
Explain.
Explain. Good. What's the third?
Use.
Huh? What is it?
Use specific details.
We're at the bottom. How competition can improve life or make it more difficult for students. That's the only part we got left. Do y'all see any other helpful verb in that sentence?
Improve.
Improve, okay? So, or, and then the other verb, because we got an OR, so we know we have another verb that's important. What's the other verb that's important?
Difficult.
Huh?
Difficult.
Yeah, make more difficult. Make is the actual verb, okay? So, we're going to have two sides to this. All right, now that we have highlighted our verbs, if you look, you see verbs that match. Y'all see that? That's a good thing. That's how you check to make sure you are writing about the right topic. Very seldom is a standardized test going to give you a good amount of points if you are off topic. They're usually not going to give you 0, the park, or with LEAP, they're only going to give you the points for grammar, which is only like 2 or 3 points. The other 9 you will not get because you are off topic. So we are playing a matching game. Do y'all see that? If you actually read a prompt, you ought to be seeing words that match throughout the prompt because they actually repeat themselves, as y'all can see. All right? So now let's look at our highlighters for this. What role is the writer playing? Who are you as the writer? What role are you playing? Don't look back at the prompt. The money is in the box. Your parent sports committee asks students to write an essay about the effects of competition. Teachers, whatever prompt you are using, you want the students to identify what role they are playing as the writers in this particular essay. So what role are you playing? You are being yourself. They want you to be the student, right? All right. I don't care what highlighter you choose. Highlight that. Because we're going to do the other one in another color. So whatever highlighter you want, highlight your role. It's very important that you know your role. Your role tells you what voice and what tone to use in your paper. Okay, let's go down to the A. The audience. Audience is important in writing. To whom are you writing?
The committee.
The pairs.
It's on the paper. Let's read our box.
The parish sports committee.
Thank you. The Parish Sports Committee. That's who we are writing to. So we're going to pick our other highlighter and highlight our audience. When you turn on the TV, when you read magazines, those magazines are centered around a particular audience. Like 16 magazine, or is it 17? 17. It's centered around girls your age. When I read 17 magazine, I get very bored because they're talking about the new hottest bathing suit. The hottest bathing suit is the one that I can fit. Okay? That's the hottest bathing suit, okay? And not show my cellulite. There you go. They think about topics about you. If you look at your mother's magazines, that's why you're bored. Because they talk about things that we care about. How to make your 2-year-old go to sleep at his bedtime. Yes. All right. How to cut down on so many dishes in the sink. Yes. All right. How to get the most for your money at the grocery store. Things y'all don't care about. Okay. So audience is very important. You have Parish Sports Committee. We know that that's going to be a group of adults on. And we know how adults want us to write. And we know things that they don't want to see in our writing. Correct? So that's the importance of an audience. If I'm talking to a bunch of elderly people, if I'm talking to a bunch of elderly people, I have to think about topics that are going to be important to them. Huh? I have to think about, if I was trying to sway them with this competition, I have to think about what would be their words about competition, their thoughts, okay? So that's the power of knowing your audience. And format. We don't have a color for this one, because this one is easy. On your actual page 2, all right? On your actual page 2 about format. Y'all see that box for format? Put always formal. All standardized assessments for your age is always formal. A formal audience. All right? The format is always formal, because they're always asking you to write like this one to a committee, to the principal, president, a teacher. All those are formal people, huh? And that's what all of your prompts always ask you to do. Or write to a magazine or the local newspaper. All formal situations. Because you're a little bit too old to be writing informal things, because there are no rules really for informal writing. And last but not least, the T is the important, I want to say the most important, but I mean, if you don't have the right topic, your paper is going to be off topic. So what is the topic? Before you state the topic, for our listeners, I need you to really think about the topic and be able to tell me it in a clear, concise statement. So once you get a clear, concise statement of what the topic is, please feel free to share. All right.
How did competition improve life or make it more difficult for you or other students?
Right. So we need to write that down. That's our topic for this paper. Now you need to transfer that information to page 2, because this will always be your example for the rest of the year. Here's your example. If you get confused, you can always look back at these documents and think about the class discussion that we've had. And teachers, at this point, you can either have students draw what I'm about to put on the screen, or you could provide them with the actual circle map that I'm about to show. For my intents and purposes, my students were given a writing packet so they could use it as a reference, so they were given the circle map. But once again, you can have them draw it on loose leaf paper if you so desire. Now we have done raft, and y'all can see that's why raft is awesome. It's really easy to remember, okay? And I always think about a raft helps me float on to the rest of my paper. A raft helps me float on. I'm not going to drown. I'm going to float on to the rest of my paper. Now the next step in the writing process, once you have processed the information, and when I say process, I know who I'm writing to, I know what I'm writing about. I know who I'm writing to, and I know what I'm writing about. If you cannot answer those two questions, students, you should not move on. You should reread the prompt until you can answer those two questions with confidence. Is there anybody having a problem at this time? Teachers, this is a good checkpoint to walk around or ask the question that I just did. If you're showing a video, well, the students heard me ask the question. Okay, now time to move on to our next step. All right, which is brainstorming. To brainstorm, we're going to use something that most people are familiar with, not only in Louisiana, but in other states. We're going to use a circle map to brainstorm, okay? So students, you ought to be looking at page 3. You'll see the circle map, okay? Now, there are two types of prompts. There are two types of prompts. Either you have a prompt that asks you to explain, or you have a prompt that asks you to explain, but you have to actually choose something and then explain. So for example, I'm going to call on somebody that I think is very outspoken, and that means they're going to have a clear answer when I ask. Victoria. Victoria, what type of pizza do you like?
I like pepperoni pizza.
All right, you like pepperoni pizza. And where do you get your favorite pepperoni pizza?
I have a family restaurant, so when I go to Alabama, I eat there.
And what's the name of the restaurant?
Rico's Pizza.
All right, so Victoria likes Crico's Pizza, and her favorite is pepperoni. If the prompt that probably was asked to Victoria is, what is your favorite type of pizza? And then she's able to put Crico's in the center of her circle. So she will place it here. And then she will tell me all the reasons for why she likes that pizza. Can you tell me one off the top of your head?
I like it because I like the way they make the crust.
Okay, so she will write crust right here, okay? Now you have the other type of prompt. You have the prompt where you have to actually make a decision. Because if you wrote that topic, look at what you wrote by topic on page 2. It says whether you think competition improves, and they have that word OR, which is a very important word when you are writing. Because if I say you can have the pen or the pencil, can you have both? No. So therein lies the issue with R. So you're going to talk about whether it can improve life or whether it makes life more difficult. So at this point, all of us could write competition in the center of our circle. So let's write competition. So we all are going to write competition at the center. Now, that was the easy part, all right, because that's our topic. With these types of prompts that ask you to make a decision, you have to make a decision. And when I say decision, this is not a decision. Well, I want to talk about how it improves it. And no. You have to make a choice. You can only talk about one topic per paper. You can't go back and forth. This is not a commentary. Okay? This is an essay. So to write an essay, we have to pick a side. So you're either going to be pro or you're going to be con. Pro means that you feel that, in this case, competition is beneficial. You agree with competition. Or con means you are against it. That's what con means, against. So most times y'all heard of pro-abortion, pro-life. Okay? That's all it means. Con means you are against it. Okay? You are against it. So, at this point, this is a very pivotal moment because you have to make a decision. It's pivotal because if you change your mind, you're going to have to erase everything that you do after this point. So, right now, are you pro-competition or are you con-competition? If you are pro, you're going to write P-R-O over it. And if you're con, you're going to write that over it. Now let's talk about when you're making a decision. When you're making a decision about writing, you're going to think about the objectives of writing. And over here it says things like clear, coherent writing, development, organization, being able to go through the writing process. Like right now, you all are on planning, producing, those types of things. Do you see the truth up here? Do you see the truth? Do you see that up here, the truth? Tell the truth. Do you see that up here? No, because it's not a part of writing. All right? Writing has nothing to do about the real, true way that you feel. If those are the objectives and I have to meet those objectives, whether it might go against what I personally feel, but they want an essay. So what do I mean? I mean, I might literally think that competition is a bad thing. But if my brain only has the information for competition being good, I'm going to have to write about competition being good because the objective, how I'm being scored, is this over here. Does that make sense? It was going to happen to you. You're gonna read a prompt, and the idea is gonna burst into your head like sunshine on a rainy day. And when you get to the outside of the circle, you're gonna come up with nothing. That means you're gonna have to erase it. It doesn't matter whether that's the way you really feel. You cannot come up with ideas to support your idea, your main idea.
One of my past teachers, she told us to write about the like there was a pro or con type thing. She said write about what has more information to back up. Like,
That's what I'm saying, exactly. And I am saying the same thing. You have to write about what you have information about. It doesn't matter about your feelings, because y'all are very black and white thinkers. Y'all know that's why y'all always say it's unfair, and we looking at y'all like, of course it is. Okay, writing is not that. It's what I can make an essay about. I've written tons of essays on things that I really don't feel that way about, but I can write about this. Okay? All right, so are we still together? Good. All right, so right here we have this. And once we write this, now we can start the brainstorming idea of thinking of things, ideals that will support our major idea. So, when you are thinking about things, or ideals rather, that will support your major idea, here's some things you cannot do. You cannot sit there trying to figure out, is this a good idea or a bad idea? That's not the purpose of brainstorming. The purpose of brainstorming is to get the ideas out of your head and onto the paper. Because all of us have had that moment where we're waiting for somebody to stop talking because you got something so good to say. And then by the time they stop, you don't know. Right. You don't know what you were going to say. Brainstorming is trying to curtail that. Getting it out on paper so I don't forget it, and getting it out on paper so my mind can be empty to get new ideas. Do you understand that? It's not a good or bad thing. You're going to lose really good ideas and you're going to feel really angry. Or that maybe that's just me. Because now I'm trying to grab that thought. Don't act like y'all don't do it. You're trying to grab that thought again. It was good and I didn't get it. brainstorming is trying to do that. So we're not going to worry about at this point whether it is good or bad. We are just getting the ideas out on paper. Right? Go. Teachers, at this point, you will want to go around and monitor to make sure students are on task and actually understand this process that we are doing right now, specifically coming up with ideas to support the main idea. Okay, so after this step, if you checked around to make sure that your students are with you, they understand, specifically if you're using a topic like this with pros and cons, there are actual ideas to support the pro or pros, and there are actual ideas to support the cons or actual cons. That's usually the issue that you're going to run into as a teacher and as a student. All right, so for example, if I'm pro, so I'm going to be pro competition. So what would be some of the ways that competition improves schools or students? All right, Lee.
It can get you motivated.
All right, motivation. That's a big thing that we are trying to do at schools because we meet so many kids that are unmotivated. The competition will make people want to win. So that's a good one. Mackenzie.
Competition prepares students for the real world.
Real world. I like that one. I haven't heard that one today. Real world. The real world is competitive. We work on a capitalist. Y'all do capitalism. Do y'all ever heard of that? We're a capitalist society. Meaning, you know, you can go shop where you want to shop, buy what you want to buy, that type of thing. So people are going to be competitive in the real world because the person that has the best products or what people want, they make money, right? Economics. Free enterprise. Okay? What would be some more?
Self-esteem.
Self-esteem. Oh, y'all got some good ones. I haven't heard that. Self-esteem is another good one. We know when we actually meet a goal or somebody tell us that we're the best at something, we feel empowered. Okay? We feel good about ourselves. Ms. Hemphill.
Teaches you how to deal with disappointment.
How to deal with disappointment. Did I spell that right? Excuse me if I'm spelling this wrong. Yes. Never give up. That's right. She said never give up. I'm going to put tenacity so y'all can learn that word. Tenacity. That's what that means. Teaching you how to be tenacious, how to have tenacity.
Sometimes that it makes you realize that there's somebody else out there better than you, so you're not like cocky about yourself.
Okay. It kills arrogance. Because we want to be confident, we just don't want to be arrogant.
It can make you work hard for something that you want.
Okay, exactly. It can make you work hard. It can make you diligent. You become diligent about what you want. Okay, so my students have helped me show you a good example of how a circle map should look. It should have a plethora of ideas so that when you get to the next step, you will have something to choose from. If you are being lackadaisical about this step, when you get to the next step, you won't have anything to choose from really. So you will have to just go with what you have. So you really want to put effort into generating a really good circle map because it makes life a lot easier when you get to these next steps in the writing process. So the next step that we're going to get to, after you do your circle map, we need to choose 3 points because we are writing a basic 5-paragraph essay, teachers. Teachers that are using this, of course, you can modify this. You can do 3 body paragraphs and have to talk about 1 point if your kids are younger or you feel that they are not quite here, or you can make it write 4 paragraphs. So you can modify this to fit your class needs, okay? My students are writing 5-paragraph essays because they can handle it. And the boxes. Choosing points. Okay, so you got your map. You have points on it. Great. Now we have to decide what we actually want to discuss in our essay. And we only get to discuss 3 minor points about our major idea of competition. So this really calls for us to really pay attention and make good decisions, because what we say we're going to write about, we actually have to write about it. Okay? So here's some things that when you choose the points. The big word here would be the word vary. It would be the word vary. This is a very important concept. Students need to choose points that are different, because if they don't, once they get in the body of the essay, they'll realize that they are saying the same thing over again. And that would be the word redundant, which is a bad word in English. You do not want to be redundant in writing. And some words that cause students to be redundant are very broad terms. So please make sure that your students actually have words that have meaning. Specifically, that are not using words like good, nice, kind, words that really have no true meaning in writing. And once you have gone over this step with your students about choosing points that are varied and different, you can have them circle or highlight. I give my students the option of highlighting the 3 points from their circle map that they want to talk about. Now you will probably want to pause the video at this time to give your students time to do this. Our final step in this tutorial, okay, is choosing your points. And we're going to choose our points, of course, according to the other information, specifically them being varied, not the same, so we won't be redundant. But we also want to put our points in order, from least to greatest, or from greatest to least. Now here are my tips for deciding on how you're going to actually put your points in order. If you do from least to greatest, you basically have points that are strong. All the points are strong. So you can do a nice build up, a nice progression to your last point. Now, you might want to do greatest to least when you have that one surefire strong point and the other ones are kind of shaky. That's what I do when I'm writing. When I have like that bomb.com point that I know I'm going to rock, I'm going to put that one first. Because I need to trap the writer home into believing that I'm a good writer and that I'm a good thinker. So I'm going to put the strong one first, right? Because the other ones aren't that hot. So that's when you would do from greatest to least. Or that's how I do it. So once you decide on the order of your points, you can write them in the boxes. Now, if your students are drawing this, they will simply draw these 3 boxes beneath the circle map. And that would be their brainstorming information. They have now brainstormed the topic, generated ideas about the topic, and they have chosen their 3 points and put them in order. At this point, it is important to stress that the way these points are in the boxes or the way they have to be discussed in the essay. And even in
Teachers and students, please excuse this interruption. Derek McMahon, please report to the front.
Even that's
And as I was saying, once they put them in the order, okay, from least to greatest or from greatest to least, you need to make sure that they acknowledge, they understand that this is the way they have to be discussed in the body paragraphs in that order. And in the closing, they still have to be discussed, revisited, paraphrased in that order. So that's the importance of that order. This is it. You decided, so they must remain like that, okay? Now, let's go back to the circle map. The circle map is still useful after you choose the 3 point, students, because if you have done a good map, 1 point might actually support another one, meaning you can use it as the explanation. Okay, and I see some of my students shaking their heads. Great, because you've heard of this. So for example, if I was talking about tenacity, in my explanation I could use the word diligent, and I could use hard working. So your circle map does more than just generate ideas. You can use it to branch off into something else. For example, if I wrote a paper about motivation, can I talk about self-esteem within it? So your circle map serves as, of course, a way to generate your points, but also you can umbrella, that's what I call it, that's just a term that I use. You can umbrella the idea, put other ideas from your map beneath that umbrella, okay? Now, this concludes this particular tutorial on the first part of writing, specifically brainstorming your topic and choosing effective points. The next video that I will be uploading will be about the ABCs of an opening paragraph, which I came up with to help my students remember what goes in an opening.
Good evening, teachers and students. I just have one announcement.